Welcome back to Two Keto Dudes. This is Carl Franklin from Connecticut in the United States. And in February 2016, I put myself on a ketogenic diet to take control of my metabolism. In just 2.5 months, I managed to reverse all my markers of type 2 diabetes with diet alone. As of now, I'm 80 pounds lighter with no signs of diabetes or heart disease.
Hi, I'm Richard Morris in Canberra, Australia. I've been on a ketogenic diet since April 2014. When I started, I was very sick with complications from type 2 diabetes. Within 6 months of starting a ketogenic diet, all of my biomarkers of disease had disappeared. I lost about 100 pounds and completely turned my health around.
And this show is a document of our experiences thriving for years in nutritional ketosis.
Yeah, and reversing diabetes.
Right, and hopefully that might help a few people who are curious about this kind of dietary hacking.
Yeah, we're not doctors, we don't want to give any medical advice, but we are keen to share our own experiences. We're actually both software developers, so we're not afraid of a little technical detail, are we, Carl?
Noel. See what I did there?
Noel. Yeah, I did see what you did there.
Show. Noel.
We have done some research into our own deranged metabolisms and the science behind them, and we share studies that we found in the show notes.
And you'll probably work out pretty quickly that we're both foodies. We love to cook and we love to eat. In every episode, we both share a keto recipe that's not bad. Get past mustard. So let's start podcast number 148, the Holiday Hangout. Heard you say you're due for a little.
Yeah, with lots of guests.
Lots of guests. But real quick, Richard, do we have any apologies or corrections from last week's show?
Let's see. Last week was 147. That was Sam Feltham, the man who ate 6,000 calories a day for a month and lost weight.
How did he do that?
Wow.
Yeah, so one of the things I mentioned in the interview, but probably won't be obvious, is that what happened to Sam is unique to his metabolism.
Yeah.
If your insulin drops enough when you eat a high-fat diet, you turn more excess fuel into energy. And what that really shows is that counting the calories that you eat and then subtracting the calories that you appear to consume and then assuming that you can draw a straight line from there to weight gain or loss is not supported by the evidence.
That's right. So let's revisit what a ketogenic diet is, Richard.
Sure. It's one that puts you into a state of ketosis where you burn fat for energy rather than glucose. And the easiest way to do that is just don't eat sugar or starch. 20 grams of carbohydrates or less every day. It's not a lot. It's basically an egg has got 1 gram of carbohydrate, for example. Leafy greens have got a couple of grams of carbohydrates. And you very quickly, just not eating sugar or starch, you'll get up to 20 grams of carbs a day or less. Really moderate protein. We use between 1 and 1.5 grams per kilogram of lean body mass.
Yep.
Where do we get our energy from, Carl?
We get it from And that was a chorus of people joining us on our holiday hangout, and we're going to introduce them now because this is a very unique show. We're not going to do all the other bits. We just want to talk to our friends because it's our holiday party. Let's start at the top of my screen with Miss Carrie Brown. Hi, Carrie.
Hi, Carrie.
Hello.
And Brenda Zorn. Hi.
Hi. Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays, don't you know?
Don't you know?
And Brandon Wen, our audio editor, general wizard, is here in his Santa hat. Hi, Brandon.
Hey, all.
Daisy Brackenhall is here, the keto woman herself from France. How are you?
Hello, keto lovelies. Bonjour.
Bonjour, Daisy.
Bonjour. Mr. Mark Miller.
Hey, Carl Franklin, I got an idea. I think we should call it 3 Keto Dudes.
But we have more than 3 here.
We should expand.
We should.
And then, of course, Karen Mangicotti.
Hi, Carl Franklin. It's Karen Mangicotti.
How are you doing? You're still in Costa Rica?
I'm in Costa Rica, but I'm far from Mark Miller.
Okay, that sucks.
That's right.
Miss Louise Reynolds is here.
Hey, Carl. Hey, Richard. How you doing?
Just great. And none other than Megan Ramos from IDM is here. Hi, Megan.
Hi, Carl. Hey, dudes. Hey, everybody on the call. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you all. Geez, this is going to be hard to let everybody talk all at once and make it sound good, but, you know, we're just having a party, so let's just chit-chat.
That's Brandon's problem anyway.
Oh, poor Brandon. Lucky he's a wizard.
First of all, Megan, I want to hear about your move. You're like moving into a new house or something.
We're stupid. Like, that's the bottom line. IDM, we're growing as a business, so we're cutting back on costs, and we were running it from my kitchen table in my 1,000 square foot condo with my 6'5" husband and 2 giant greyhounds. And in October, I lost my shit. Like, I was like, I can't live here anymore. And then we bought a house like 2 days later, and then it was a freaking disaster because we bought it from a man. It sounds like a very nice man who passed away, but there were some issues with the will. So we don't actually own the house, but they let us move into it. So we will hopefully own the house in February.
What could go wrong?
Right. But we're in here. I'm so glad that this got pushed to Sunday because there was like some sort of internet catastrophe and no electricity here yesterday morning. Right. But today, so far, it's 9 a.m. and things have gone smoothly. Nothing's broken. No dogs have peed inside. That's been fun.
They need to christen the house, you know.
Yeah.
They're going to wait till it's your house, right? As soon as it's your house, they'll go pee on the carpet. I'm
going to have everyone come here and knock down walls when we finally own this place. Our stove's from 1962. Whoa. So thank God I know a thing about fasting because that's
Before I had the studio, I was a software development trainer, and I made a training room and did my own hands-on classes in there. I know, big shocker. So I had put some money into this room, and I had laid down this carpet, and it was the very next day, and some friends of mine came over, and I didn't know one of them brought a dog. And I'm like, hey, the dog's not going to, like, mess up this carpet, is he? No, probably. He's a good dog. No sooner had he said that when right on the carpet, big stain, and I could not get it out, and it stayed there forever.
Oh, no. You had to get rid of the carpet.
Carl, you could do professional sound effects, buddy. I totally knew what was happening when I heard that. I was like, I know what he's doing.
I'm there in the moment.
Usually I go...
Mark Miller did the same thing on the carpet in our house, and I can't get it out.
Well, I made that sound.
Daisy, what's new with you?
What's new with me? Well, talking about dogs, new dog.
Yay!
Oh,
yay!
exciting.
Yeah, I think last year I was a bit down because I lost 2 of my lurchers last year, but so this year was the year to get a new one.
Oh.
She's a youngster.
She's beautiful. She has a sweet face, Daisy. She's a beautiful dog.
She's gorgeous, and you know that old adage people talk about with you bring a young dog in and it gives a new lease of life to the old dog in the house. Well, yeah. Daisy, my namesake, my old deerhound, who is ancient and very creaky, well, she definitely has brought a new lease of life to her, and she's bouncing around again. So that's a real joy.
Nice.
But other than that, the podcast, of course, and that's just keeping going, strength to strength. Few things changing up this month. It's a very, very busy month.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
New things coming in the new year. So watch this space.
I got to meet
of course,
Daisy.
I was just going to say that I had a surprise visit from the one and only.
Yeah, and Louise and I set this up, didn't we, Louise?
We certainly did. We were playing a bit of a trick on Daisy, and Daisy thought that I was just going to pop across the channel and pop in for a weekend. But little did she know that my doppelganger, Richard, was going to end up on her doorstep instead. So we kept the roost going for a couple of hours.
We did. Yeah, I totally missed a flight in Amsterdam, and Louise had to pretend to Daisy, I've missed my connection in Amsterdam. And Daisy's like, why is she going through Amsterdam?
Oh, she had great excuses for all of it. It was all to do with Black Friday sales, and she had an excuse for everything. I'm just thankful that it wasn't a complete surprise. My sister said she hates surprises. She says, I don't actually hate surprises. I hate not being prepared for surprises. And I know what she means because my house was a mess. So
yeah. Wow.
Louise did it perfectly. She prepared me for it, but it was a surprise when I peered out into the darkness because my outside light is broken.
That's so cool.
And this voice comes back at me. No, that's not Louise.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Brenda, I heard you had a good year at IDM.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I've been so busy with IDM. First, they had me managing their group fast on their website, and then educated me to work with clients, so I've been really busy with that. And, Richard set up a website for me, so I'm going to start blogging on that, zornfast.com. So I'm excited to get that going. I need somewhere to talk. You know me, I'll just talk forever. I need somewhere to just write that stuff down, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I've been real busy with some stuff. And next year, my goal is 900 on the leg press. If my knees ever tell me they're done, I'll stop. But that's my goal next year. Yeah, I'm going to do it. And I got a passport. That's my other thing that I did.
Oh, cool.
You can come to Costa Rica now.
Oh, absolutely, Karen. My goodness, yes. I'll do it.
Not on your motorcycle, though. It's incredibly dangerous to drive in Costa Rica.
Is it? Okay. Yeah, but people take their motorcycles down to South America, and I hear about the most wonderful trips down there. So, but maybe not the first time I go down. Brandon's going to help me get some airfare.
Karen, you've been to Boston, right?
I was born in Boston, baby.
Yeah, so
I'm Bostonian.
They drive even crazier in Costa Rica than they do in Boston?
Yeah, well, here's the difference between Boston and Costa Rica. Like, Boston, you know what you're getting into. It's aggressive. It's a game. Like, you just stare people down. You flip them off. You whatever. I know how to play that game. Like,
you packed a rocket launcher in the glove box.
I have words about their mother. I can do this, right? But Costa Rica, it's like you're navigating tourists and locals, and the locals are driving with like a truck with 100 to 200 people on the back of it. You've got like motorcycles with children without helmets, and so you're already like, wow! And then cows and other wildlife.
Wildlife on the road, yeah.
Lots of
giant
wildlife.
Trucks coming around the corner in your lane, right? I've heard Mark talked about that yesterday. Yeah.
Oh, did he? Oh, yeah. Is that why? Because I talk about that with some frequency. It scares the out of, sorry. Oh, sorry.
That's okay. It's just another bleep for Brandon.
It scares me all the time. I'm in constant fear for my life because the vent is, because of where we live, and there's rainy season and there's dry season. Rainy season is insane, and you have to provide ways for the water to get away from the road. So the road, if you misjudge it just a little bit, you just hook your wheels on it, you could be plummeting in a ditch to your death with great
Wait a minute,
ease.
Karen, didn't your car go into a ditch or something? Not that...
Multiple times.
I read about that.
This is from experience.
I drive into ditches all the time. I used to actually call Mark Miller when I was in a ditch, and he would run from our house to wherever we were. But now I don't even call him. I'm like, it's too embarrassing to even tell anybody, so I just kind of wait for people to help me out of the ditch, and then I get out of the ditch.
And
so I don't know. I have a driving tip for Karen. I don't know if this is okay to have marital advice on the show, but my advice would be stay on the road.
Speaking of marital advice, you know what Daisy said about the dogs? If you bring a new one in, what if we got like a new young guy in our relationship? I think it could really revitalize it.
New lease of life for Mark.
I'm totally okay with that as long as she's totally hot. I'm fine with that.
That's awesome.
Brandon, I want you to I want to check in with you because last we knew you were actually eating stuff you've never eaten before in your life. What?
Yeah.
Catch us up.
I spent 2 decades not being able to eat any kind of preserved or processed meats, which meant that bacon was out. I spent I spent that same period of time incapable of digesting eggs, even if you had made a loaf of bread or a batch of cookies and given me a 1/12 of an egg baked into something. It was a digestive nightmare for my system. And after about 3 or 4 months fully keto, mostly carnivore, I've actually spent the last month every day, and I mean this without fail, every breakfast has been bacon and eggs.
Oh, yeah!
Nice. It's like one of those movies where you think it's going to end badly, but it doesn't.
That's right. I'm so happy.
That's great.
Brandon, can you eat garlic yet?
You know what? There are a couple of foods that had severe enough reactions that I haven't yet jumped in and tested them, because if I'm wrong and if my body's not ready yet, the downfall is pretty severe. So I've not yet tested garlic. I will test garlic before I come visit you, I promise.
Yeah, you need to. You told me once that you couldn't even be in the kitchen if somebody was cooking with garlic. Is that still true, you think? Would that be a good test?
That would be a preliminary test for sure. I have noticed, so I used to also have severe sensitivities to fragrances, colognes, perfumes, evaporative alcohols, and I've been able to, like when I go through airports now, I can actually walk through the duty-free section without a, HEPA filter mask.
So Brandon, this has only been 4 months? 4 months on keto, and this is healed for you?
Yeah.
Pretty much. That's great.
So I was pseudo keto for on and off about a year, but I was not
keto-ish.
Yeah. But I was still eating low glycemic bread, and I was drinking a lot of milk, and so I wasn't really strict to it. And then just before this last year's Keto Fest, I went keto full on, and then from Keto Fest forward, I actually did about 6 weeks of strict carnivore, and zero carb. And after about 2 or 3 months of the really truly being strict to keto, everything changed. My mood changed, my anxiety disappeared.
Wow. That's got to have everything to do with the gut biome. I mean, and there's so much new research out about that right now.
Absolutely.
And yet there's so much we don't know.
Yeah, and I've started converting others, not through zealotry, but just through setting an example. Actually, Carl has a house guest that I introduced to him right now, who's a good friend of mine, who's a financial advisor, and he and I used to just hang out, and he saw how I was eating, and he saw the changes in, we were actually, at the time, we were roommates, and he saw the changes in my attitude and in just the way that my life was progressing and the energy that I had, and he, came to me and he was like, what's the secret? What are you doing? Why am I doing this wrong? I think I'm doing a diet that makes sense. And his biggest issue is he was doing way too much protein. And he was, like many people, he was afraid of fat. And so I got him to turn that mentality around, because he saw that, I'm as skinny as anyone you're going to meet, and I eat more fat than anyone I know.
Yeah, isn't that how a lot of people end up starting to do this, is that they'll just watch us and what happens with our health, and then next thing you know, they're going to try it too. That's the way we get to a lot of people, yes.
That's what happened with you and Kevin, right?
Oh, yeah. Yep. I met him and had no idea he was type 2, let alone on dialysis, and he just started following what I was doing. He did all the work. I just gave him the resources. And the dudes gave him IDM. They're like, hey, we really want to hook him up being educated at IDM, and they got a hold of Megan and Jason, and Megan and Jason said, oh, no, we'll just do it. And so Megan met with him every week for about 6 months, and he learned how to fast. He can fast for 3 days on dialysis. It's pretty amazing. But Kevin did all the work. He had to want to go keto. He had to want to be brave enough to fast, which is very difficult when you're on dialysis. Talk about managing electrolytes. But yeah, he lost 67 pounds, reversed his diabetes, got off all his meds, got off his insulin within like 3 weeks. And he had been sick with type 2 for 27 years. So yeah. He just was watching what I was doing. We just were hanging out, having coffee, having lunch every now and then. And he decided to, he found out I used to be type 2 and started to check it out. He was ready. You have to be ready. Definitely.
Thank you, Megan.
Yes,
Megan,
no thank
problem.
you.
Kevin's awesome. Well, I didn't really do a whole lot. He was a really determined guy. And he kept things simple. He's like, okay, if this is what I have to do, then I'm going to do it. Like, there wasn't a lot of fluff. There wasn't, can I eat olives during my fast? Can I eat, this during my fast? Can I have green juices? He's like, no, if you tell me to just drink water, I'll drink water. And, Brenda, she's the one that I think gets most of the credit next to Kevin for actually doing it. She took such great care of him throughout the whole process, and now he looks amazing. His blood tests are amazing. So I think he's going to have a really awesome future.
I'm super jealous. I've never actually successfully fasted. I know. I just haven't been able to do it, and I think I keep wanting. I know. Maybe that's
so's Megan.
Maybe that's
so's Megan. That's true. I'm sorry.
I think the biggest thing that changes your ability to fast is the why you are fasting has to be a strong enough why. For someone like Kevin, who's trying to get his body healthy enough for a kidney transplant, like that's a good why, that in those moments where your body says, I'm really, really hungry, you can shut that part of your body up by saying, no, I really need a kidney.
And it has to do with trust, too. I mean, Kevin was very educated, and Megan knew more about dialysis patients, of course, if you know about Megan's history. And so I had to trust Megan. I was scared at first, but, as long as he had that education and he trusted, then he was able to do it. And some people do have more trouble fasting. I found with working with all these clients that the biggest thing that gets in the way of people being able to fast, besides not having enough body fat, that's difficult, is stress. Stress is a real problem, with trying to fast.
Well, and I prepare food for other people too, but I'm getting to the point where so I have arthritis in both of my hips. Like, it's super painful.
Oh, yeah. There's stress right there.
Yeah, I know. But I'm like, yeah, but what does fasting have to do with that?
What does fasting have to do with stress? I could explain it unless Megan wants to.
You give it a shot,
I'll do it. Yeah, okay, I'll do it. All right. Stress raises cortisol. Cortisol is a hormone. And when cortisol is raised in the body, then it blocks the function of insulin. Now, we all have insulin. We need the insulin to shuttle the energy into our cells. So if the insulin gets really high, then we're not able to get the energy we need. We start to get fatigued. We start to have trouble, with our energy needs. Then the insulin gets even higher. And then ghrelin, the hunger hormone or appetite hormone, is released. And then we become hungry. And it's just like a domino effect that happens under stress. So managing stress for a lot of people is a big thing for wanting to learn how to fast. Right, Megan?
That makes sense.
Yes. I was actually...
Megan, what do you think that the effect would be on arthritis? Like, would fasting be able to, curb that pain a little bit?
Yeah, well, fasting really is very effective at reducing inflammation because it really drives down the insulin levels. It suffocates them. It pushes them down throughout the day, and it says, I know you want to go back up because you have insulin resistance, but you can't. I'm going to hold them down, I'm going to press them down, and I'm going to break the cycle of insulin resistance. And that really helps reduce inflammation across the body. So we see a lot of people, of course, weight loss helps improve the symptoms of arthritis too, but actually, really suffocating the insulin to the point where you break the cycle of insulin resistance, that really has a huge impact on reducing inflammation throughout the body. If you have insulin resistance, it doesn't really matter how keto you eat or how carnivore you eat or how low your protein is. The insulin resistance is always going to chronically drive the insulin levels back up. The only way to really sort of break that cycle where the insulin resistance doesn't drive the insulin levels back up over time is by fasting and really forcing it down. The first few times everybody fasts, you want to eat. Cardboard looked appealing to me on my first fast. But you're going to be hungry. And, I said, okay, I'm hungry because my insulin levels are high. And even eating low carb, I'm hungry because my insulin levels are going back up because of my insulin resistance. So I've got to suck it up. I've got to fast because, just doing keto or low carb not enough. But once you start to break that cycle of insulin resistance, you should feel a lot better.
And fasting's a skill. You build on it. You get better at it.
I actually thought that there was the levels of the beta-hydroxybutyrate actually helps to mediate the inflammasomes. This was something that we actually heard from the 2 Canadian GPs at the Low Carb Denver conference, where they were actually saying that a lot of their patients who had chronic pain issues, and the two ladies from Quebec were actually sort of saying that the pain-mediated pathways is where the actually being in ketosis and obviously having the ketones on board actually has pathways relationships to these pain-producing chemicals called inflammasomes, which help to reduce the inflammation. So for me, that's why obviously staying in ketosis and eating a keto diet after having the injuries related to my motorcycle accident is obviously, of primary importance for me. And certainly, yes, you're right about, keeping the weight off. Obviously, having lost 130 pounds, weight off my joints as well. But it's obviously the injuries related to my motorcycle accident, and really keeping a good levels of ketones on board helps to moderate that. The inflammasomes is the key
is that
thing.
that same effect, the DOMS effect, where I don't get that pain after lifting, Richard, because I'm ketogenic, and is this a different thing altogether?
Yeah, that's a different thing.
Okay.
What happens is when we become fat adapted, we become really good at moving ketones into our cells. And the transport that moves ketones into our cells moves lactate out of our cells. And so when somebody is a glucose burner, they don't have a lot of these transports. And so they have a lot of trouble getting lactate out of muscle cells. And so they get lactic acid buildup. And so one of the advantages of being fat adapted is we become really good at shuttling lactate out of our cells into our blood to go back to our liver to be converted back into glucose, to feed our brains.
And lactic acid is what causes pain and cramps.
Delayed onset muscle.
Yeah.
But that's a totally different thing from what Louise is talking about. Similar,
but,
though.
I mean,
okay.
The two things work together. I mean, certainly reducing inflammation is going to be great if you're breaking down muscle fibers and building them up again. By doing lots of weight-bearing exercise, it's going to help with getting lactate out of the cells, but also high beta hydroxybutyrate is going to help with reducing inflammation. So It's all good.
Just all good. It's all good.
I want to call on Carrie and had talked to Richard because we have some major changes to announce. But before I do that, I just got to relate a story that I think is really important. So I was at Low Carb Houston. And the company Sola was there, S-O-L-A. You can't miss their products. They're all red. Right? And so they were giving away some bars and stuff, and I had one, and I noticed my blood sugar went up, and then I looked at the ingredients, and I guess maltitol was in there. And, of course, I also spent the next 2 hours in the bathroom, so that's a different story. So somebody told me that Sola bread, because they have a low-carb bread, was really good.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Okay. Maybe it was you that told me.
First time I had toast in 5 years, Carl. I'm telling you, I like the taste. But
so I did an experiment. There are 3 net carbs each. I did an experiment. I had a sandwich I didn't toast it or anything. I just put some mayo and mustard on it. I put some cold cuts and cheese. And I had a sandwich, and an hour later, my blood sugar was up 23 points.
Okay.
Wow.
Then the next day, I did the exact same thing, except I used Fox Hill Kitchen's buns. And I grilled it with butter and all that, and everything was good. Actually, my blood sugar went down.
Wow.
With the same exact ingredients inside, so I know it wasn't the cold cuts or the cheese. So I know, and I'm not saying, if you're eating Sola bread and it works for you, that's great. I'm just telling you, this was my experience. So it just goes to show you that you have to test every new food that you bring into your life. Yeah. So obviously that doesn't happen to you, Brenda.
No, I didn't have a bad experience with it. But then again, I'm not going to eat it every day. I mean, I heard about it. I went and I found a store nearby that had it, and I tried it out, and the toast was really yummy because I hadn't had toast for 5 years. It used to be one of my favorite things, with a lot of butter. And no, it didn't raise my blood sugar, but it certainly could have raised my insulin. I can't wait till we can get an insulin meter, right, Megan? So we can check our insulin levels at home, right?
That'd be so great.
I think people are working on it, but there's one of my patients brought one in. He was traveling somewhere in New Zealand, so we tested it right at the same time we did it in the lab, and it was like totally off. We used picomoles per liter in Canada, and it was off by about like 30 points. Wow. But at least people are trying. It can only get better, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, Richard, what do you think? Should we spring it on him?
Da, da, da.
3 keto dudes!
3 keto dudes. No, 10 keto dudes.
There were 10 keto dudes sitting on the wall. Yeah, there's a third one already. Don't forget.
I should mention, Louise is the third keto dude because without her, Keto Fest wouldn't have happened this year.
That's right, yeah.
That's right. But anyway.
But we love you all.
But that's besides the point, Mark Mailer.
We do. So,
all right, Richard.
I would accept 3.5 keto dudes. I'd be okay with that.
You realize this is excruciating for our listeners, right?
So
sorry.
So as you know, I went back to school this year, and I did 4 subjects, and I did 5 subjects, and I did pretty well in them. But next year I'm going to do 6 subjects, and all of my subjects are going to be twice as hard because they're all second and third year subjects, and I'm going to have to step away from the microphone some this year because I need to concentrate on school, because really my goal is to, if I can get high distinctions for everything I do this year, then I can get expedited access into the PhD program at Australian National University. So, so I've decided to really lean into school this year in 2019, and that means I have to reduce the amount of time that I spend doing podcasts and Facebook and conferences and all these things. And so I've made a decision in 2019 to step away from the microphone.
Well, you said you'd be back like once a month or something, right?
Yeah, that's right. I'm not going to leave anyone in the lurch. I'm not going to leave Carl or our listeners in the lurch. So, I'll come back regularly to do a sciencey bit as often as I'm invited. But when I started this whole thing, I promised Carl that I'd do half a dozen shows. And what do we know? We've done 148 shows together.
Yeah.
And I did this as a commitment device to stick Carl to the ketogenic diet to make sure he did it. And
that's right.
I think he's got this.
I think he's got it.
Yeah, so I suggested that he start looking for a new dude, and even that new dude could be a dudette.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
There's only one person who really hasn't spoken today.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Mark Miller.
Carrie Brown. No,
Never the case.
Mark Miller in a tutu.
I could do that.
All right, Carrie.
Saturday night at my place, Richard.
All right, Carrie. Welcome to the family.
Thanks. Hi.
I missed it again.
For those of you who don't know me, which is most of you, I'm an introvert, and so I'm a bit overwhelmed right now. But I'm very excited. Underneath the overwhelm, very excited. When I got a message from Carl last weekend, I literally nearly fell off the couch when he invited me to be the keto dudette, and so I'm very, very excited, and I'm very honoured, and I'm still a bit floored, and I'm still waking up every day and pinching myself, and I'm happy and honoured, and all of those things.
It's going to be great. So just to let everybody know, we are going to change the format up a little bit. And we want your help in that because, Richard and I sort of modeled the show around our personalities and our situations and all that. But Carrie comes at keto from a totally different place than Richard and I do, which is great. And I think it means a broader appeal. Carrie, you didn't get into keto for weight loss or diabetes.
I did not. I used to have a very broken brain. I used to have bipolar 2 disorder. And so it was that brought me to keto via the infamous Dr. Ted Naiman. He put me on a ketogenic diet because at the time I met him, the bipolar medication I was taking called lamotrigine is actually an anti-seizure medication. And because the ketogenic diet was originally when they first started using it, it was to help children with seizures, and it did that very, very well. He theorized that because I was on an anti-seizure medication, that the ketogenic diet may also help me. And there's a lot more to that story, but the punchline is I have been off of my lamotrigine and all pharmaceutical medications for a little over 3 years, and I have also been completely symptom-free of symptoms of bipolar 2 disorder for that same time. Yeah. So, there's more that goes in the middle, but that's not for this show.
Well, we did a show with you last year, and or this past year, so go back and listen to that show, and you'll get her story. So, we're putting up a form, a Google form, called suggest.2keto.com. So if you go to suggest.2keto.com, we have some questions to ask you about what you would like in the new show with me and Carrie. And as Richard said, he's going to be back once a month or so to tell us everything he's learned in biochem class, which I can't wait for that.
So I have a question for Richard.
Sure. Shoot.
So you're either mailing me the hat or you're in the process of getting another one made.
Somebody's got to wear the hat. I'm sorry. Somebody's got to wear the hat.
Oh, the hat. You guys are so much fun. Of course, Mark and Karen and I have a history of doing podcasts of another type completely altogether.
My favorite.
We never say the word out loud, though.
No, we never That the podcast which shall never be named.
So, Carl, what did you learn this week?
I was thinking, I was thinking it might be a really, really good idea to not do so many projects that we can't actually talk about.
Yeah, that's true.
I just realized I've got so many things I want to plug. I can't tell you because I can't say the names of those things. Right?
It's really best that way. Believe us when we say you don't want to know.
You're going to have to work hard to find us.
All right, so I have an idea for the rest of the show. There's what, 12 of us on here? 9, 10?
10.
10 of us. And obviously for everybody to do a recipe isn't going to work. But, this is the holidays.
Oh, yeah, you're breaking open the liquor, Richard? Okay, I'm going to get mine.
Yeah, Richard's breaking out the scotch. Yeah.
I got them all back here. Let me get this open. Got a
There
toast,
you go.
Richard.
Cheers. So I would like everybody to give their favorite keto or fasting tip for the holidays, or not for the holidays. Just a tip, just a quick one. Who wants to start?
I'll start.
Okay.
So for me, so I'm Italian, so whatever Christmas dinner brings, it also brings pans of lasagna, which is tricky now because, it's hard to do. But I switched it up a little bit, keeping the essence the same. I make chicken parmesan, and it's loved. It's changed the face of Costa Rica. And basically, I won't give you the whole recipe, but it's just I bread it in Parmesan cheese and pork rinds. And
pork rinds.
Yeah, who can go? Well, I'm not like Brenda Zorn pork rind lover. I'm not that level.
You don't put it in your
I won't
pancakes?
actually
You don't make
eat them
pork rind
plain.
pancakes? Okay.
Oh my God.
Where can people find your recipe?
They can find it actually on our show. I don't know which show we did it on, but I can let you know, and you can put it in the
we'll link to
information
it.
down below.
Fantastic.
Cool.
Great.
Who's next?
I'll go.
Okay.
And you would think that I would do a fasting one, but you know what I'm going to do? This is a holiday, right? And one of the things that I found when I deal with a lot of my clients, I'm not kidding. Half of them ask if they can have wine, and they're sad because they think they're going to have to give up wine because they're wanting to, adopt a low carb diet. And so I have found the lowest carb, best tasting thing out there. I don't know much about wine, but there's something called a Malbec, and these are made in Argentina. And most of these 3/4 liter bottles have only 2 to 4 grams of sugar in them. So that's what I'm drinking right now. Cheers, Richard. Get yourself a Malbec. Oh, and LCBO, the Licensing Control Board of Ontario, lcbo.com. You can check carb content of wine. Enjoy your wine.
That's very, very good. And Malbec goes very nicely with steak.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Just saying.
Beef.
It's a big, big wine. Stands up to steakies.
Yes.
All right, I'm actually going to go next because before I forget, this is a very simple tip and it works really well. If, we all make chicken parm with pork rinds or whatever. We have sauces that we use, tomato sauce. Rao's marinara, for example, seems to be a staple among all of us because it's only free.
I make my own, Carl.
Well, okay. I don't do that.
Also, it's not available in Costa Rica. So
okay.
now I make my own.
All right. So if you make your own or you use Rao's, it's 3 or 4 grams of carbs per half cup. Here's the tip. Before you serve it, you add 100%. In other words, if you have a half a cup of sauce, you add a half a cup of butter.
Oh,
all right?
Perfect.
Of course you do.
I also add tarragon to it because that just makes it nice and lovely and meaty.
Oh,
but
wow.
What happens here is a couple of things. First of all, you make it rich, so it tastes delicious. You also cut it by half, so you're cutting the carb content in half. But because it's so rich, you don't tend to eat as much
Absolutely.
of it. Like you don't.
That's brilliant.
You don't smother your chicken in it. You just sort of spread it on like a sauce or an aioli or something. And the flavor is just as good. It's better because, of course, butter makes everything better.
Yeah.
So we had a keto meetup at RD86 last night, and about 30 people came. And he had a cioppino on the menu, and he's got a keto menu now, so you can just go and ask for the keto menu. So his cioppino is a tomato paste-based, fish stock-based sauce. And I basically told him, yeah, cut it with butter like this. He goes, boom, done. And it was so effing good. So there's my holiday tip.
That's awesome. Yum.
Add butter. All right, who's next?
I'll go.
right, Mark.
This thing has changed our life. It's an instant ice cream maker that you put in the freezer, and it basically is designed to give you rolled ice cream. But from a keto perspective, it's perfect because sometimes you're in the mood for ice cream, especially like as the holidays are coming up, right? Mm-hmm. And you can pull this out and have ice cream in about 5 minutes. And we've experimented with lots of different flavors. We've done some ice cream recipes on our show, Keto Families. So I love it. The one we've got is Chef'n's Sweet Spot, kind of a weird name. But we really love it.
How does it work?
So it's super cold. You make up your you mix up your heavy cream, your sweetener, and whatever else you're going to add in. Mm-hmm. If you're going to add anything chunky, do it at the end.
Okay.
And then you pour on about 3/4, half a cup, I think, of the cream into the pan, and you just use these paddles to kind of scrape it. And you're essentially, it's like cooking, but you're pulling heat out of the item, whatever you're putting on there. So it's like, just like in a frying pan, the heat is, you want to flip what you're cooking so that the heat,
So it's flat like a tray?
All sides. Yeah, it's flat like a tray.
If you've seen the people who make those ice cream rolls, like in carnivals and stuff, and they take the scoops and they get it ready, and then they flatten it out and roll it up and they give you an ice cream roll, it's for doing that.
Oh.
But what it really does is make instant ice cream that you put in your own ingredients with. So it is really delicious. And I would say probably about once a month, we're like, God, you know what we really need? You know what we're really missing in our lives right now? Wow. And then you have it instantly. So it is a game changer. It's really good.
And we've made keto cookies and cream ice cream. We've made keto chocolate chip mint ice cream. And we've done vanillas. We've made a keto 3-layer ice cream cake. I think maybe
for your daughter, Carl, for Emmy's birthday.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Mark went to town and made this crazy 3-layer ice cream.
I saw pictures of that. Yeah. So that's what you used.
Yes.
Yeah. So we had to do that. We had to build that over the course of 2 days because this makes essentially a couple servings of ice cream before it warms up, and then you have to put it back in the fridge for about 8 hours to get it to where it's back to making it again. So a few days in advance, we prepped it by making the different flavors that were going to be in Emmy's cake.
So if you're making it in a lot of it, not so instant.
Right,
no.
It's not instant for a lot, but if it's, you're going to feed like a couple people, like I would say between 2 and 6, you can do that in one setting on it.
Well, what does the ice cream princess think about that, Carrie?
I think it may be wise for me to say no comment at this point.
She's a purist.
She's so good.
I know. Do you have a recipe tip or a foodie tip?
Me? I do. For Christmas, one of my things I love to do is change up your cheese. And by that, I mean a lot. I think a lot of keto people just really focus on, cheddar and mozzarella and cream cheese, the plain cheeses.
Yeah.
But one of the things that makes my keto life a lot more exciting, actually year round, but particularly at Christmas, is I like to go and get things like Sage Derby. Sage Derby is one of my favorite cheeses. It's a hard cheese like cheddar, but it's milder and it has ribbons of sage running through it. Dill Havarti.
Yeah.
There's also so you can get things like blueberry goat cheese, which for the amount, you don't eat very much. You just eat a little slice of it. I'll eat a little slice of that as dessert. And of course, there's half a carb in the amount of blueberries you have around it. There's a whole bunch of herb cheeses out there. Also smoked cheese. I love smoked cheese. And I particularly love, there's some cheeses that I will only eat at Christmas, because that's just one of the things that makes Christmas special for me, particularly on keto, is that I'll go to town and I'll buy, a few little pieces of all these different flavored, if you like, or ribboned cheeses, and that makes keto a lot more exciting. So if you haven't dabbled in funky European cheeses, then this is a good time. And you can go to, even Trader Joe's now has a much bigger variety of strange European cheeses and herby things, and so it's really fun.
Have you been to Fromage in Old Saybrook?
Oh, yeah.
I haven't, but there's a place called, and you may not, we have to go, Carl, the Cheese Shop in Centerville.
Yeah, we're going to have a Come to Cheeses meeting.
Just outside of Essex. They too, and they'll sample, and I've got some Austrian Tilsit that I got from there, and so, yeah.
It's
so
Christmas,
change up your cheese.
Yeah, it's Christmas, so we're going to sing, praises to baby cheeses. And, all right, I'm done with that pun. I'm sorry.
So yeah, change up your cheese. That's go find some exciting cheese.
Awesome. Love it. Who's next? Brandon. Put salt on your meat. Next. No.
Actually, my food tip is really more of a holiday tip, and it is a social insulating tip, and that is pick your battles and don't engage with people who are not prepared to hear this information.
What do you mean by that, Brandon?
People who are stuck in old information that is more propaganda than it is science. Save yourself the emotional energy. Yeah. Do what's right for you. Understand that this is your lifestyle, and don't don't engage with the people who it's not worth your mental energy and your emotional distress to have a science arguing match over the holidays. When you're around family, when you're around friends, when you're around extended family, there are going to be people who are going to judge you. There are going to be people who don't understand. There are going to be people who are upset or frustrated, and most of them are truly concerned for you. They're not doing it because they don't want to support you. They're doing it because they don't have the information that you do. So don't hold that against them, and just don't allow it to turn into a point of dissonance. Say, thank you for sharing your opinion. I really appreciate your concern. I'll take it under consideration, and then ignore them completely.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good tip. I mean, holidays are hard, and one of the things that I really take away from Megan, and I don't know if this is going to be your tip, Megan, but one thing that you said on the Obesity Code podcast and on Facebook and everywhere in person is that holidays are for living, and you be with your family, be with your friends. If you have to or you feel like you're going to indulge a little bit, this is probably the time to do it. You're fat adapted. You're going to get right back on the horse. Don't beat yourself up, right?
Yeah, Carl. On that note, I was going to ask to go next because I have half a cow at the top of the stairs waiting to come downstairs to be put in the freezer.
Half a cow?
Half a cow. We bought a house, and the first thing my husband did was buy half a cow, and the second thing was a big freezer. So,
wow.
So we'll be feasting this holiday. I had to buy him a smoker for Christmas so he could cook the damn thing. Yeah. But holidays, Carl's absolutely right. My one suggestion, though, is, if you are going to have some carbs, just to save them to the end of your meal. I love my mother's roasted potatoes. They are my Achilles tendon. I've always been a salty, savory person rather than a sweet person, and she hated making them because they were so much work. So she'd only make them for holidays, and I would just go crazy. My first Christmas, where I had gone low carb and keto, I'm like, it's Christmas, I'm going to indulge. It's one day. I've got this great fasting tool I can do in the next couple of days. And so I started off with the potatoes, and I think I ate like a dozen of them. It was really ridiculous. So now I take the potatoes and I put them on my plate, but I eat them last.
Yeah.
And by the time I get to them, I'm pretty full already. I'm starting to eat. I'm pretty satiated. I'm only going to eat a few of those potatoes. So that makes a big difference. So I recommend set yourself up right. If you eat all of the fat and all of the good protein and all of the good non-starchy fiber, that's going to have a huge difference on how you hormonally respond to the carbs when you consume them.
Right.
If you eat the potatoes first, instantly your sugar is going to spike, your insulin's going to surge, and you're going to be like an out of control animal at the Christmas table. But if you save them for last, it has a really different impact on your body. So I definitely love my mom's potatoes, but I eat them last. So that's just my one tip about eating carbs on the holidays. But yeah, you're human, and you're surrounded by these carbs. There's traditions with food. I definitely don't want to kill anybody's traditions with food. If you can make healthier options, absolutely. But if you can't, just save them till after you've eaten all the other good, fatty, healthy, yummy foods.
Great tip. Yeah. Louise?
Yeah, I will be actually. It's almost like Louise's little world mini tour at the moment. So I'm currently living and working in the UK, but I'm actually in Belgium at the moment, and we popped over to France this morning. So and I'll be home in Australia on Wednesday. So my top tip is to basically, if you know that you're going to be spending time with family, is bring keto food with you or bring keto options with you. So we'll be actually holidaying with family, and so there'll be about 35 people there. And I know that there was a call to bring dishes for the catch-up family on Christmas Day. So I was lucky enough to, on the Black Friday sales, I finally bought myself an Instant Pot. And I will be bringing the cheesecake. So I know that this is a keto-friendly cheesecake, and I love my recipe with the Polish recipe with the mascarpone, and so I really add lots of fat, and I obviously use the xylitol in there. So I know that I have at least one keto-friendly option, and usually my family are low-carb-ish, and so they don't necessarily all go keto, but they have lots of other low-carb options. And definitely bring BYO, your own food. So yeah,
I made that for Carl's wedding.
Oh,
yeah, that's
lovely.
right. And Louise made it at Keto Fest.
Yes, love my my Polish cheesecake recipe. So it's a bit of a family favorite. So that's my top tip.
That is awesome. Okay, who hasn't gone? Daisy, Richard?
Daisy.
Yeah, I'll go. I have a warning. I thought I would follow on from the tradition I started last year with a KKB post. You might remember from last year, I told the funny story of Lish's spicy stuffed panties. Well, this year I thought I'd draw from KKB again with another story.
I'm sorry. Did you just say what I think you said?
I was thinking the same thing, Carl.
You've forgotten, haven't you? You forgot. You're going to have to go back and listen to last year's show to remind yourself.
Okay.
It was on there. This is a warning story about coconut oil from Holly Lynn Blake. So I'm reading this out. This is a post she put on that I asked her if I could share. And she was happy for me to do so. Well, it all started with a shower, or was it a bath? I don't know. Facebook will remind me of the event, I'm sure, one of these days. I'd moved into a new apartment, and there were 2 windows directly across from the bathroom. When the kids were not home, I would leave the bathroom door open because the steam built up so quickly in there and it would grow mould. Anyway, I think it was a bath I'd put the oil in. I'd noticed that the shower curtain was not on the ring while in there. So when I got done, I decided, in my infinite wisdom, to stand on the edge of the tub and put the offending ring back onto the shower curtain.
Oh, and that's called foreshadowing, kids.
Da, da, da. The coconut oil did its job, and I slipped off the edge of the tub with the shower curtain and shower rod and firmly landed on my face on the floor in the bathroom. It gets better. I stood up, and the UPS man was standing outside my window on my neighbour's doorstep. Poor guy got a full view. After that, the blinds never opened on that side unless there was no chance I was showering that day. So there you go. Be careful what you do with coconut oil.
That's dangerous.
Thanks, Holly, for letting me share that story.
When we used to live in Connecticut, Carl, we used to get a lot of complaints from the post office that they kept getting full views whenever I would step outside completely naked.
Fully dressed.
Fully dressed, I mean, right. Fully dressed, that's right.
They were just like, please keep that indoors.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
And of course, there's your neighbor Gladys. But
right.
we won't talk
Don't forget
about her.
Gladys. Gladys! Calm down. All right.
Will you put some pants on? Richard, I believe it's your turn.
So this is going to be probably my last recipe for a while. So I'm going to do a recipe that I ate tonight for dinner. And it's also a technique. And the recipe was actually something I found on allrecipes.com, and it's keto pork belly cracklins. And it really only has 3 ingredients. One of them, you could probably guess, is pork belly. One of them is water, and the other is Cajun spices. So you might think to yourself, how can I make a meal out of that? Well, basically the trick is you get a 5-quart pot, get it on the stove, and you put about a quart of water in there. And you add the Cajun spices to it, and you get it into a rolling boil. And then you cut your pork belly, you remove all of the ribs and cut the pork belly into 3/4-inch cubes and throw that into the pot of boiling water. And now what you want to do is you want to cook it until that water all reduces out. Meanwhile, what is going to happen is the fat is going to render out of that pork belly. And the recipe on allrecipes.com basically refer to essentially you cook your pork bellies and then you eat the pork bellies and you throw away all that fat. Okay.
No.
No. Why would you do that? Okay.
What are you doing?
Here's what you do, and it seriously, Jules and I both said at the end of eating this meal, this may be the greatest keto meal we've ever eaten.
Ooh.
So what you do is you make some chicken stock beforehand. And make chicken stock with chicken. I've done a recipe before on Two Keto Dudes with using chicken wings in an Instant Pot to make a really unctuous, gelatinous chicken stock. So what you do with this fat, you've got this pot on the stove. You've taken all of the pork belly out of it, and you put it's got Cajun spices. It's got oil in it. And what I want you to do is I want you to take that pot and add some chicken stock to the pot to pull all the fond off the bottom of the pot. Now, the fond is the sticky bits that are stuck to the bottom of the pot. That's where all the flavour is.
Yeah.
Okay. And you can add, say, some shallots, chop some shallots, or put some bell peppers in. That's what we did today. And turn the pot off, so it's no longer cooking, and it's going to be reducing in temperature. But it's going to pull all that stock, essentially water in the stock, is going to pull all the fond off the bottom of the pan. And now you have water and fat. And as you know, water and fat don't combine.
Right.
So I want you to reduce the temperature of this by letting it sit for maybe 20, 30 minutes, and then put it into a magic bullet or some other kind of blender and add a tablespoon of cream cheese, Philadelphia cream cheese. Now, I've spoken about this technique
It'll emulsify.
Before. It emulsifies because it carries sodium tricitrate in it. And that's how they turn. That's how they basically emulsify the water and the fats in the cheese. So you add this, and it makes a sauce. It's almost like butter chicken sauce. It is incredible, and it's mostly fat. So when you go to your family's Christmas do, take a pot of this sauce and guard it carefully.
And put it on everything.
Yeah, put it on everything, because it is awesome. So anyway, that's my recipe.
Wow.
And I put a link to the keto pork belly cracklins in the show notes.
Fantastic. Wow. Well, we know we sprung a big surprise on you, and I know you're all curious to hear what next week has in store for the Two Keto Dudes podcast. So you're going to have to tune in. That's all there is to it. And definitely go to suggest.2keto.com, fill out the form, let us know what you want to hear, what you don't want to hear. And Carrie and I will be back next week.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
Exciting.
Great job.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Yeah, happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, Keto Lovelies.
All right, we'll see you next time on Two Keto Dudes.